Shikues të nderuar, mirëmbrëma dhe mirë se vini në Jeta në Kosovë. Mas 4 vjet e gjys punë në Kosovë, e kemi ftu zotni Zhbogarin me këshyrë se cilat janë të arriturat edhe dështimet e tij dhe të Komisionit Evropian para se me shku në misionin e ardhshëm ku do të jetë i postum në Maqedoni, ku do ta përfaqësoj Komisionin Evropian në Maqedoni. Zotni Zhbogar e ka kry misionin Kosovë, ka nejt 4 vjet e gjys, e na sot do të kuptojmë se cilat kanë qenë që ato momente kur i kemi kry detyrat, kur kanë qenë që si kemi kry detyrat, çka duhet me bo në të ardhmen edhe sa jemi larg asaj teme që ja patnis vetë zotni Zhbogar para 4 vjetëve që ka qenë jeta në Kosovë e që ka qenë tema ma e ndjekur me të liberalizimi i vizave. Të shohim se çka ka thonë atëherë, çka po thotë sot. Zotni Zhbogar, mirë se vini në jeta në Kosovë prap.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Para se të shkojmë të ndigjojmë çka po thotë sot, unë po du me juve me ndo deklaratat që i pa donë. Në emisionin tonë, zotni Zhbogar, në vitin 2013. Atëherë, e patëm shtet për muri me na dhonë një datë lidhur me liberalizimin e vizave. Tash njerëz, unë e di që ne si kosovar qytetar këtu nuk mund të kërkojmë llogari prej ndërkombëtarëve, sepse ndërkombëtarët nuk i votojmë. Po, tu e ditë çfarë ndikimi kanë ndërkombëtarët në Kosovë, tu e ditë shpesh që klasa jonë politike ma përpara ja u kryen punët atyne se shpesh qytetarëve të Kosovës, patëm vendos me marë premtim. Të shohim çfarë premtimi pa dhënë zotni Zhbogar në studion tonë në prill 2013. I'm interested to know what is your legacy? What do you want to be your legacy in Kosovo? Since this is the first time you're coming to our program, what is the legacy you want to leave here before you finish your mission, like many people, many internationals have done?
Well, that's usually I don't speak about that, but of course everybody wants to. You know, if you do something, you want to see results. What I would like to see in Kosovo is I would like to see Kosovo having an SAA and becoming a candidate country for European Union. That would be my wish, my hope for people in Kosovo, and of course for to get a visa-free travel on the way there. So that I think in my mandate, which is 4 years, would be kind of a goal.
Remind me, when does your mandate finish?
2016.
Visa, I want us to highlight what you just said. To get the visa liberalization on the way there.
On the way there.
By 2016, meaning
from now to 16.
From now to 16 on the way there, not even guaranteeing that by the end of 2016 is going to be there.
I cannot guarantee because it's member states at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure it's going to be before, but on the way there, yes.
That's a pretty cold shower for Kosovars who'll be hearing our leaders declare on this program that by the end of this year, Kosovo is going to be ready.
Well, it's better to be positively surprised than to be disappointed. I don't want to raise expectations of people in Kosovo for the visa-free travel. I know the feelings in Kosovo about this visa-free travel. I know wherever I go, students say, why aren't we travel? I understand the feeling of discrimination.
Do you understand also that the spin is such right now that they're blaming the EU for putting Kosovo behind visa liberalization, not our leaders?
I think we are there together. Probably there are some things that EU promised in the past and didn't deliver fast enough, like a roadmap we were promising for quite a long time. But probably there's some delays on our side as well. But now I think we are on the train together. We deliver 70 recommendations. We work together with Minister of European Integration on a joint action plan, how we can do that as fast as possible.
Tell me bullet points, some very important. We do not have time to go into all criteria we haven't fulfilled, but what are for you some crucial points for visa liberalization that our government hasn't fulfilled?
Well, the most crucial, of course, is always the rule of law, organized crime and corruption. This is the crucial element.
Wow. A politician that did not lie to us in the end. You told us the truth. No matter how Shocked I was. It seems like I was at the time. I didn't believe it will take that long. First, can you tell me what reactions you got after you said that at the time? Quite a controversial statement at the time.
Well, first, I'm not happy that I was right. I spoke about that. I was hoping on the way to 16 that we will get visa liberalization. There are many reasons why we didn't get before 2016. But okay, we have a proposal now. I think we can happy that we have a proposal and we are on the way to getting visa-free travel for Kosovo. Yes, I did get comments, even from some politicians who were surprised that we speak about 2016. But actually, we never spoke about the date. You know, somehow, capable as you are, you tricked me into promise something. We never spoke about the date because it's up to Kosovo, actually. When the conditions are fulfilled, then the member states will decide. It's simple, so that's why we avoided years all the time. But that's behind. We have now a proposal, and we are working on a proposal. Parliament will meet. Council is discussing, so I hope, unfortunately, I'll be away from Kosovo when that happens, but at least I was here when proposal was done.
But since you are such a good predictor, I'm going to just use our past experience to get from you at least an analysis of what happens to countries before that were in the phase that Kosovo is now. Countries who got the proposal, how long did it take them until their citizens traveled without visas? Can you describe to us the process that others went through?
Well, usually it takes a few months from the time of the proposal, or it took a few months from the time of proposal to the time when people start traveling visa-free. As is always with Kosovo, also this time, there are complications. And of course, the complication is the whole issue with Turkey, because there is the package of Turkey, Ukraine, Georgia, and Kosovo. And we don't know how these complications with Turkey might affect or not affect visa liberalization with other countries. So we'll have to see how in the autumn now discussions in the Council will evolve. For that reason, it's very important that Kosovo does everything that was requested.
Can you give us just a rough analysis of this Turkey influence? Because we're talking of, let's just assume, technically, can you give us the cold shower you used to, the truth about what happens if Turkey continues in this path, continues to do what it's doing to its rule of law, schools, journalists, if it continues? How will it affect Kosovo? Can Kosovo on its own get visa liberalization if it fulfills everything, or it's just a package?
This is not clear now. It's not clear whether the countries will move ahead on their own or there will be a package. The more probability for a country to go on its own if it's done everything, if it's exemplary in fulfilling conditions. The issues with the Turkey were that it hasn't fulfilled the conditions that were supposed to fulfill before the summer. And that's why we'll have to see how member states will evaluate that. But that's why it's important for Kosovo to do everything that is required to be exemplary.
Any process where Kosovo on its own can be discussed, or this is not something that is done?
Every country is discussed on its own. In principle, every country is discussed on its own. It's a process of its own.
Can you then highlight for our audience now in September, what are the conditions that Kosovo, the key things that Kosovo is being weighted upon?
Well, already in the report that came in December was very clear that Kosovo did all the recommendations, and there were really many, but that there was two outstanding issues. The border, the boundary demarcation with Montenegro, and the continuation on prioritizing high-level corruption cases. So we've been focusing, and Kosovo has been focusing a lot on Montenegro agreement, but we shouldn't forget the second outstanding issue is to continue prioritizing high-level cases.
Can we just recall the fact that when the two of us spoke in 2013, I remember the second issue, fighting corruption, which we will play, was always on your agenda. You always spoke about it. Demarcation, I'm afraid, is a very recent thing. How come you didn't tell Kosovars that you need to do this 3 years ago, and suddenly it's become a condition?
Demarcation was one of the conditions in the roadmap. In 2012, with Kosovo, we established the roadmap needed for Kosovo to come to visa-free travel. Whereas I mentioned 70 recommendations, but at the end there were like 95 recommendations or benchmarks or conditions. One of them was also to have an agreement with Montenegro on delineation. And that's
Interesting.
why
the reason why I'm asking this is because I checked with whether Albania has fulfilled demarcation, and it seems like they got visa liberalization without actually doing demarcation with precisely the same country they're surrounded with, that we are surrounded with, Montenegro. How come EU didn't ask that of Albania and is asking that of Kosovo? Can you explain?
From every process that EU is doing in the region, we learn some lessons. And one of the lessons learned is that border issues are, that there are many border open issues in the region. And these are the border issues that burden relationship between the countries of the region. The countries that are entitled to enter the European Union one day and are all the way to the European Union. And that's why the decision was in the European Union that we have to use all the instruments that we have to encourage countries to solve these open border issues. And it happens that with Kosovo, visa liberalization came along, and we said, why don't we encourage Kosovo to sort the issue with Montenegro doing visa liberalization process?
In the end, Albania didn't do it because actually Albania, what happened is that Albania said that if we open these issues, said behind the scene to the EU, they were telling us that they said to the EU, listen, we think that opening the issue of demarcation will bring more problems rather than good, because people are sensitive about land, and we are surrounded everywhere by Albanian, ethnic Albanians. Therefore, it will be less conflictuous if we just go through visa liberalization without any demarcation. EU accepted that argument.
I don't know about Albania discussions with the European Union. I know that European Union doesn't want to import open border issues in the European Union, because then they affect also relations between the EU member states.
Is it really affecting Croatia and Slovenia that much? In the end, they can still resolve it once they're within the EU, and Kosovo is not going to be in the EU tomorrow, that you expect Kosovo to speedily resolve this issue?
I don't think that European Union member states were excited with Slovenia blocking Croatia negotiations. I think that was one of the lessons learned, why they need to engage with members earlier. Look, the border issues will not go away if you don't touch it. Yes, it's emotional. The border is always an emotional issue. But it doesn't help if you keep postponing it. It gets much, much more complicated later on. So at one
but
point
Slovenia and Croatia is democratically given the time and the space and whatever the legal argumentation to resolve it within their people. Don't you think Kosovars and Montenegrins deserve the same time and space without being conditioned?
Well, I think it was enough time from 2012 to 6 years. I think it's a lot of time to discuss the border issue. And actually, you have a border agreement. This was just an encouragement to do something that the two countries would have to do at one point anyway.
Where is Slovenia and Croatia, by the way, now with their border disagreements?
At the arbitration.
Arbitration. And how long is that taking for both countries?
Arbitration, I think, is now ongoing for 4 years.
For 4 years?
5 years.
And it's still not resolved?
I think it's about to be resolved. There were some problems in between, but let's see. The ruling, I think, will come next year.
One of the things that you mentioned yourself, the second, apart from demarcation, your second condition, which we will play again the clip. You said even then, is that you want to see rule of law and corruption fight. It's quite incredible to see that just before visa liberalization in Kosovo, there was sort of a license by political class to go after two high political cases. One, the usurpation of public space from high-level politicians, which has never happened in Kosovo before. The head prosecutor wanted to look like a hero, organized press conferences and we saw something that we'd never seen before in Kosovo public. The second was the public arrest of a raid of 50 places of high level, again, MP of Kosovo Parliament. Two hopeful moments, and since all happened just before EU gave Kosovo proposal for visa liberalization. Incredible. Since there has been two affairs opened in Kosovo. One previously was called Pronto 1, second is Pronto 2, where we see the influence of public officials even on choosing heads of courts, how they chose them. In case you don't know the details, is a particular head of a court which was put there by an MP, although they didn't apply to the post. It's incredible. It's incredible to the point of disgusting. Many people are saying in Kosovo today, this is disgusting, what we hear in these interceptions. What do you say to those people? And what do you say to the fact that for the EU performance, our leaders perform on a particular date, and then when that pressure is gone, nothing happens?
I don't think the pressure is gone. I think it was very clear in the report of last December that it has to be ongoing track record on high-level corruption cases. And after the investigation and the rest of this 50 criminal group of 50 people, you had another investigation involving Ministry of Health and former Minister of Health Agani, who was also he's also under investigation, so and then resigned. So you have, I think you do have continuing prioritization of the high-level corruption cases. And of course, we'll continue to pay attention. And this is one of the conditions that will be evaluated before the final approval for visa-free travel is going to be given. But on the issues that you mentioned on the appointments, I think we've been quite vocal in every progress report, and especially last year when several appointments happened in the public companies, even against the law, we were vocal about that as well. Even wrote to the government and drew attention that things are not in line with the law.
But they didn't resign. They continued to be these members, although you wrote about it in member countries. Donors wrote to the public companies and to the government. It still continued. I
think there is, as I understand, talking to the Prime Minister, there is a serious attempt to change that. They've been discussing with UK Embassy here now for 9 months, but they've been discussing for many months to put this procedure in place, how an independent consultancy company can help draw the shortlisting for the appointments. And I think that could make a change in the procedure. However, but for sure, this is something we were alerted also by the civil society. We paid attention, we draw attention, and we continue to stress the importance of it.
However, you had the reaction of the head of PDK group who said, why are you so surprised? Basically, the reaction was, we win votes by promising to employ people. And basically, this is the system which he felt he was delivering to his duty. What do you say to that clientelist mentality?
I think that this has to change. I think that this type of doing business in Kosovo needs to change. I think we had, recently you had an example of Mylinda Kelmendi, who won the gold in Rio and who showed that, by dedication, by commitment, by sacrifice, by hard work, you can achieve results. And, you have the same with several artists in Kosovo. So we need Majlindas everywhere in Kosovo. We need Majlindas in politics. And this has to change so that people will succeed because they're good, because they are committed, and because they're hardworking people.
I must say, Majlinda didn't need a UK company to come and classify her and change her. So, how do you think? Do you really, honestly believe that we're going to get an outside mission again? Because we've improvising with missions. We had EULEX to catch our thieves. Now we're going to have UK come in with a company to choose our CEOs. Does it really work?
No, it has to come from inside. It has to come from feeling the need to change things. Kosovo has, it's obvious that Kosovo has problems with perception abroad.
But are you internationals covering our backs more than you should, rather than letting this process, that the locals sort it out and take responsibility? Again, the responsibility would be on some international mission that can possibly be used for a blame game in the future. Don't you see that pattern as well happening in Kosovo?
Well, I hope not. This is just a consulting company that will make a shortlisting. Decisions will be done by those who needs to do decisions according to your laws. But the change needs to come from within. I think that I started to say that there is this wrong perception or bad image problem of Kosovo abroad, and that would need to be addressed, and that could be addressed only if you start
these
seriously.
interceptions, is not just an image issue. There really is a clan capture of the state, where they send people in institutions based on their old political alliances. It's not just perception.
Yes, and we expect that to change. I think Kosovo could progress faster toward European processes only if these things would change.
If you expect that to change, what are the actions you would expect of this government or these members of parliament to do if they took this seriously after these interceptions came out? Apart from a resignation from running the biggest parliamentary group, would you have expected something else?
Well, on this issue, I think judiciary have to look into it, and I understand the prosecution is looking into the issue. But I think the action should come more on the longer term, how to address these issues. I think the zero tolerance toward corruption should be something that should be put from the words into the real action by politicians. You would need a role models of politicians who would say, we are going to change this attitude. We are going to make it different. I don't know how to what to advise. It's Kosovo has to decide itself which way it wants to go, and Kosovo people at the end who vote make the final decision.
Yeah, Kosovars vote, but in the end, if you internationals want something to happen, especially over the EU and liberalization, I told you 2 cases where they most wanted to impress you. So if you wanted this to happen, corruption is fought, could you make specific demands, much more specific demands compared to the way we've seen you and the US policy do it for demarcation association?
Well, I think for visa, we put a condition that's not fulfilled yet. We are going to monitor, so it will need to continue. We can help empower your institutions as much as possible, the prosecution and judiciary, but primarily they need to feel empowered by the politicians so that they can do the job, but they need to feel that they are allowed to do that and that they should be doing it. And we have to say the chief state prosecutor has taken some more decisive measures with regard to high-level corruption this year. So we hope that to continue. And
just before we got the proposal. Since then, there hasn't been any
Well, we don't know
action.
what kind of investigations are ongoing and what is still yet to come. I believe that the process is in place.
Okay. Let's go to the second topic, which you've mostly You've mostly been in the media regarding the dialogue. Let's see what you said 3 years ago and come back and see where we are today. What would you say to commentators who think 3 years on, after the dialogue has started, technical first, then political, Kosovo is stuck with the same results? Kosovo does not control its airspace. Flight tickets cost more because it doesn't control its airspace. It does not have its own phone code. It pays to Monaco and Slovenia for their country code. It does not have visa liberalization, no freedom of movement of people and goods. It does not have its banking code, which means the loans for Kosovars are higher. 3 years on, in reality, we're stuck with the same results despite the nice words you're saying to us.
Yeah. You mentioned the things that are not done yet, but are in the process. I can go one by one. But there are also things that were done. Recognition of diplomas, free movement of people to Serbia.
Which is more expensive than in UNMIK time, by the way. Do you know that?
The insurance, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, I think our people are working on that as well with the insurance green card bureau in Brussels to try to find a solution to that. We have civil registry that we're copying to bring to Kosovo, cadastre copying to bring to Kosovo, so that you can establish your own full cadastre and civil registry.
Working on that, but not really. There's nothing.
No, those things are all done. On the banking code, we went together with your governor to Brussels to apply for SWIFT code. I mean, this telecom and energy issues, meaning the country code number, this is part of the dialogue that needs to be sorted out very soon. That's one of the conditions. So that means before June, it has to be sorted out. So these are all things that are in the process. But many things have been done. You have IBM functioning on the border.
What difference does IBM make to ordinary citizen crossing the border? What difference does it make?
We will see in the summer. I hope that in the summer we will see less queues at Merdare. I was there last summer and it was not really nice sight. So I hope that this year, when they are close and they communicate and they have regular weekly meetings, the policemen over there, Serbs and Albanians, that will improve also then the whole process.
You listed several things which continuously become a topic. How would you evaluate what you said then? What are you seeing as achieved and what is non-achieved?
I think since then we have many more agreements and many more implemented agreements. I think we have a big change in place since then. That was in April 2013. At that time, you still have North completely separated. You still had parallel mayors in the North. You still had barricades in the North. So that changed significantly. So the dialogue did make a change. You have mayors who for the first time in October 2013, when you have elections, that all mayors participated. So you have a legal and legitimate mayors in the North now. You are collecting custom duties in the northern gates. You have integrated Serbian police into Kosovo police. You have civil protection being disbursed into disbanded and disbursed into different ministries. You have now integration of judiciary ongoing just now. So actually you have all these parallel systems gradually being integrated into Kosovo system.
However, you said that telecom was going to be finished roughly until June 2013. We're now September 2016. We're still talking of an agreement which should have been done a long time ago, energy and telecom. Why?
The agreement was done.
Yeah.
The problem is implementing the agreement.
Yeah.
True. I'm not saying that the dialogue implementation doesn't go slow or slower than we were all hoping in 2013, and not without the problems. And telecom and energy and agreement are two such agreements which have been really prolonged.
Why? Why?
Why they're not implemented?
Yes.
Because when you come into the details of implementation, the practice has been that actually you start a new negotiations. They're all, you agree on telecom, for instance, you agree on telecom, and there you agree that Serbia Telecom, that is present in Kosovo, registers the company in Kosovo and gets a temporary license. At the same time, you agree that Kosovo Jeta. Then the question comes, and Serbia Telecom registers as a company. The question, and that took quite a long time. The question comes, how many stations will they have around? And that is a reason for a new cycle of discussion and negotiations. And now again we are there, or we are not there yet. Simply, it's not been implemented. There is no agreement yet. No agreement. It is there, but Serbia needs to inform IPU that it agrees with Kosovo getting the code.
But it's precisely what Serbia won't do. Serbia is conditioning. Let's speak straighter about this. Serbia is saying without association, we won't do anything else we've decided till now. So you've allowed Kosovar daily life to be affected by a very big conditional politics by actually agreeing to Serbia's conditions and timeline. Without association, nothing else happens.
No, look, we cannot enforce any agreement. We cannot enforce implementation of any agreement. We are a facilitator. We bring parties together so that they agree, but we don't have a force how we can enforce implementation, one thing. Second,
of course you can enforce, you can say to Serbia, we won't continue discussing chapters if you don't do this. Of course you can enforce. Not enforce, but at least affect some other relations you have with Serbia. Or do you think Kosovars are not worth it to affect it?
No. On the contrary, Chapter 35 speaks precisely about implementation of the agreement. Chapter 35, in the negotiations of Serbia with the European Union, is dedicated to normalization relations with Kosovo, where we look at how implementation is being done. And this will be all listed in that
But the deadline for that Chapter 35 is until Serbia goes into the EU. So this can be indefinitely postponed until Kosovo goes into the EU.
No, but let me come back to the agreement of April. We have 15 points in the agreement of April, of which 6 points refer to the association. And of course, all others refer to integration of Serbs into Kosovo. Of course, then Serbia is insisting that that part also gets implemented. That was also an agreement done, last August about forming the association, and also is not being implemented. And of course, then each side said why the other didn't implement. We insist that things are not linked.
They're not linked, but how come you're not insisting on chronology? Those that were first signed, they get delivered first. How come there is, with EU as mediator, there's no sense of somebody keeping order on how things are implemented?
No, we discuss all issues in parallel, and we don't link issues. This should be before the other one. But we encourage both sides to implement as the agreements are done.
But we talked about even IBM. You said then you expect that there'll be less queues. Unfortunately, from this summer onwards, we have the proof of this summer. There hasn't been less queues.
There hasn't been less queues?
No.
I don't know. I didn't travel over, but the system is done that it should be less queues because the two customs police stations are placed one next to the other. For sure, it's less humiliating than it was before when they were separate down the hill. How fast it goes, this I cannot tell.
Let's go through what we discussed.
On IBM, just to say that we started building the permanent posts, joint posts, Kosovo-Serbia border boundary posts. We will do 6 of them, and we started with that.
Let's talk about other things that we talked 3 years ago about. Recognition of diplomas. You said then that you're hopeful is going to be resolved. Seems like a really non-controversial issue, recognition of diplomas. It isn't happening.
Now it's happening. I think it's happening.
How many have
past,
they been recognized?
I don't have that information, but I know...
Our information is that really we're talking about tens, and there's hundreds of applications for recognizing diplomas.
I know that before the summer, there were meetings of a working group and find a way how to unlock this blockage of diploma recognitions. So now it should work.
You issued your statement about how it should work. We followed up that statement. We called the numbers that were on the EU statement of where should students call, and they seemed not to be in tune. This summer we did this check, whether it's working.
This I don't know. We know that we have an agreement. We have implementing partner, and it should be working.
If we look back to these 4 years of you being here, what is something you enjoyed the most, and what is something you enjoyed the least?
What did I enjoy the most? Well, there were many moments when I joined, but I was very extremely happy when Kosovo got a visa proposal, something that Kosovo waited for so long, and because I know how much people of Kosovo really wanted visa-free travel, not necessarily because of visa-free travel, but because of the symbolism that it represents of not being discriminated anymore.
But they still feel discriminated. They still have to be humiliated in front of embassies as you leave.
Yes, but we see the end of the tunnel.
Great, please. We see the end of the tunnel. You just spoke of conditions with Turkey. Can this last for another 2 years? Or can this be, do you see this being resolved 2017, or do you expect this to go to 2018?
No, I think we should have some clarity in the autumn already, where things are going. I think in the autumn we should have a clarity, and I hope that soon after we'll have visa-free travel. In
the meantime, though, after you being happy, we've had Brexit. Can you tell me, do you expect that Brexit will affect the talks about Kosovo visa liberalization?
No, I think those things are not linked. No, this will not affect. But in the longer run, since Brexit discussions will be ongoing for at least 2 years, once they start, that will draw a lot of attention of the European Union. Mm-hmm. And, you know, European Union has many priorities. Well, Kosovo has only one priority, I would think, and this is going toward the European Union. So during this phase where EU member states will be distracted by other issues, it is very important for Kosovo to keep attention of the European Union, and that can be done only by doing the right things, by not doing mistakes, and by really doing the most to prove that it's ready to do reform, is ready to do transition, and is sincere when talking about the corruption and the rule of law.
So what is something, clearly you enjoyed getting that proposal. What is the second part of the question that you enjoyed the least?
What did I enjoy the least? I don't know. I didn't have, I had some bad moments, of course. We had some bad moments.
What were the bad moments, if you can share them with us?
Well, you know what, I felt when we were pushing for specialist chambers, I had meetings with several MPs, and several of them, especially from the areas where massacres happened, like in Jakova, were telling me stories. And I understood the difficulties that they were going through. Even though I thought, and I still believe, that it was the right thing to do, you know, to establish the specialist chambers, because it will clarify the image of Kosovo. But these were difficult moments. Was not bad moments, but they were very difficult moments. Difficult moments were also, you know, visiting Maya on the day of anniversary, or talking to the relatives there, when you see that after so many years they still live with the pain. I think these are difficult moments. They're not bad moments, but they're difficult moments.
Very good you mentioned that, because just before I invited you for the interview, I did consult several civil society groups to ask what would be the last question they would ask you. And I talked to some of these people who are following war crimes in detail, because as you know, we discussed a lot about the special chambers. And they asked me to ask you one important issue, which is that incredible that they are in a situation where there will be no new war crimes cases taken by EULEX, because there will be no new war crimes. Everything is passed to Kosovo prosecution. Kosovo prosecution tells them and tells us that they cannot get any Serbian cooperation, because Serbia doesn't want to cooperate, similar as to how it didn't want to cooperate so much with EULEX. And now we have special chambers which will mainly deal with war criminals from Kosovo. What is going to happen to the fact that doesn't look like until Serbia recognizes Kosovo, we will see new war crimes cases happening regarding largely Kosovo victims?
Well, this is very simplified version, I think.
Okay.
I
Tell
think,
me what is not simplified version.
I mean, black and white, not simplified, but black
Okay.
and white. I don't, well, first, EULEX still has some ongoing cases, war crime cases. Second, nothing prevents Kosovo from investigating war crimes or continuing to investigate the cases. They will be handed over from
Let's be more direct.
EULEX.
When the perpetrators are in Kosovo, they can. When the perpetrators are not in Kosovo, it's difficult.
Yes, but all the judicial communication with Serbia goes through my office, actually. So all the requests come from my office to Serbia and the other way around. So that could still continue.
How's that going if it's going through your office? We don't want to know the details of cases, but are you getting responses? Can you testify that it's going well?
I don't know whether it's going well. I just know that we are sending a lot of mail to Belgrade, and we receive mail from Belgrade as well.
But let me tell you that a key public case of Čuška just disappeared, although we had here on Jeta Kosovo on public TV a former war criminal suspect who really opened his heart and it told the story of how the killings in Peja and Čušk happened. So there are those witnesses even in Serbia, yet that case is not going forward.
But that case is going forward in Serbia. There is
the witnesses have lost trust in testifying. They don't want to go to Belgrade and testify anymore because the case has just gone to retrial.
Yes, but you have to follow judicial procedure. If the upper court takes certain decision, then you have to start from the beginning. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be prosecuted. So there are many cases. I wouldn't be so automatic that Serbia will not prosecute any of the cases that are in Kosovo. I mean, Serbia is also working on the rule of law, on judiciary, and I expect that those cases where there is sufficient evidence, that there will be trial, there will be trials, there will be prosecution, and those crimes never. What's the word? There is no state of limitations for those crimes. There's always time to come back to them.
Can you specify something which I think all you who advocated for the special chambers did not clarify in public, I'm afraid. That message was not clear. Whether the special chambers will also chase perpetrators of Albanian victims. I'm very sorry to have to be this, to separate victims by the ethnicity, whether they are Serb or Albanian, but there's a bit of a confusion whether the special chambers will also chase perpetrators of Albanian victims who got assassinated in after the war through political, because they were political opponents, basically, which we know about. Yes,
I remember there was a lot of discussion. This is up to the court. Court is supposed to follow the report of Marti and the crimes mentioned there. But the court also has some time limitation. I think it deals with the crimes up to the end of 2000, if I'm not correct. But
well, there was some Albanian victims
so
up to the
there
end
were.
of 2000.
So it covers also the period after the war, a short period after the conflict. But it's really up to the court to define, or prosecutor actually, to come forward and define which crimes they're going to investigate and prosecute.
It's quite amazing that you pushed, this was so important, you kind of, may I say frankly, you twisted the arms of many MPs to vote for this law. In the end, we still haven't got this law, not because of Kosovo, but because Dutch parliament hasn't finished what it needs to finish. How come?
Because their ratification procedure is very complicated. But it's coming to the end. It's coming to the agenda of the parliament now in the autumn. So we expect that this ratification will be over by the end of the year, and then everything is
Holland,
in place.
Right?
For Holland, yes, will be done by end of the year. And then
what is Holland about to decide? Can you explain?
it's the host agreement. They are hosting the court, and that's why they signed an agreement with Kosovo about the conditions for hosting this court there. It's on their territory, so they have to ratify. But in the meantime, based on interim agreement with the Netherlands, all preparations for the establishment of the court are in place. They are hiring people. They are. It's now open call for the president of the judges, for the roster of the judges. Everything is being now prepared so that when the Netherlands, when we have all legal base in place, the court can start functioning and the prosecutor can come forward with the indictment.
Then, talking about that court, how would you evaluate the drama that went on from our leadership side when they were about to sign? They didn't, the last moment, sign the extension of the mandate with the EU. What happened behind the scenes there? Can you tell us the truth?
Well,
how come it was
behind the scenes is behind the scenes. I'm very happy that at the end we reached an agreement to extend the mandate. It's all about very understandable and very encouraged wish, determination of Kosovo to take more responsibility for the rule of law in Kosovo. I think it's commendable that Kosovo wants to be in charge. Did
Kosovo want certain cases to be under local hands, especially those of high-level politicians? It wanted majority judges to be locals, that they can influence, no?
No, I think we didn't discuss the cases. We discussed the principle. And after, 8 years that EULEX is here, we agreed that it's time for more and more responsibility being given over to Kosovars. Otherwise, Kosovo prosecutors and judges will never be able. This dependency syndrome kicks in if you stay international stay for too long.
So what's going to happen to the current ongoing cases of EULEX? What's the majority panel of judges going to be, and what resources are going to have, EULEX is going to have to finish these cases?
Well, we reached an agreement at the end that ongoing cases stay with EULEX, and that EULEX will have the right to ask for the majority EULEX judges on those panels.
But the main
so that they
discussion,
stay completely EULEX.
The main discussion was whether EULEX will be allowed to open new cases. I think this was the tricky bit, right?
Yes, that was the discussion, whether EULEX will have the right, because if they open a new case, that means they will stay even longer.
Yeah.
And we agreed that on exceptional basis, EULEX has the right to ask Chief State Prosecutor, who would then give the approval agreement.
What were your relations with, what was the relations with the people in power, and what were your relations with those in opposition while you were here? Is there an anecdote you would share with us? How are they like behind the scenes? Although we now hear what are they like with their friends on the phone calls to their MPs. How are they like with you behind the scenes?
I don't think it's any different than it is in public. I think I had very correct relations, very friendly, very open with all leaders. I believe in inclusivity, and that's why we had contacts, and we have contacts with all political leaders, with all parties.
Including the opposition?
Including the opposition. It doesn't matter who is in the opposition. We had contacts with LDK when it was in the opposition, and we have contacts with LDK now when they're in the government.
Do you have contacts with Vendosya now? Although you publicly said you don't want to meet them after the tear gas, or am I wrong?
No, I did say that, but that has changed since then. That was last autumn when the tear gas was in the assembly, and this was something that really we couldn't accept. And at that time we didn't have contacts. But after that, beginning of the year, when the things changed, we re-established contacts with the Vendosya. We have regular contacts with Visarimeri. Because, as I said, we believe in inclusivity. We don't believe that you can solve problems by excluding or not talking to all partners in Kosovo.
Interesting. And may I push you a little bit more on that? They did have a tear gas even after that, even after you agreed to continue talking with them. They did have a recent tear gas in the parliament.
Yes.
How does that affect your relations?
Yes, and we didn't. We don't approve. We don't approve. A tear gas is a tear gas. It's declared a weapon, and we don't approve that as a method, no matter what reasons are behind somebody using that.
What is today, after you have so much inside information in Kosovo, and you've been involved in so many of its little dramas and crises, what would you like to see? To leave like a specific homework to do duty for Kosovars in the next 4 years?
Well, we don't do to-do list for Kosovo. We are not the one who would tell what you need to do. That's
but
for Kosovo.
Let me rephrase it. If Kosovo wants to be an EU aspiring country, what would you like to see happen in the next 4 years?
I think Kosovo would need to convince people that is sincere when talking about fighting corruption. And after these Pronto affairs, I think even more. So you would need, as I said before, we would need to see zero tolerance in action. We would need to see that politicians who are under investigation or even indicted or even accused in the court, we will need to see them out of politics. We will see them that parties don't tolerate these people on their list or in positions. I think that would be a very good message. We would need, would be good to have politicians as role models in that sense. We need politicians as promoter of clean hands, of fighting corruption. So that this is something I think that would raise the eyebrows in Europe that something is happening now in Kosovo, that they are becoming serious.
You're asking a whole political class to punish itself for the better of the country, more or less. What would you say?
Well, I don't know about that. This is up to prosecution and judiciary to decide who is corrupt and who is not.
In terms of EU, you pushed certain issues. In these 4 years, you were here, certain projects and certain issues. Ombudsman was one of those, Ombudsman institution. I found it incredible that for years, our institutions didn't have space for ombudsman. They stopped it. They made the Ombudsman institution pay rent every year. Over a few weeks or months that you asked it that this is a visa liberalization condition, they found a location, so things can happen. Did you find that incredible? That cynicism, that when us, the locals, demand something, it doesn't happen, and when you, internationals, speak English to them, it happens?
Well, it didn't happen because we asked. It happened because this was conditioned for visa.
I know, but that means like asking.
It happened because they wanted to deliver to Kosovo people.
Really? Really? They wanted to deliver to Kosovo people. Why didn't they do it till then? So can you make a lot of good things a condition, and maybe this is the way we get them to do things for Kosovar people?
Exactly, and that's why we need European processes. That's why we have SAA. That's why we're working.
So could you openly say to civil society here and citizens now hearing you, if you want things done, you can make them condition for visa liberalization? I'm sorry to simplify it black and white.
Not for visa liberalization, because this is now over, but I think there will be
It's
different...
not over, it's still going to be discussed.
But we cannot invent new conditions. But of course, there will be new processes that I hope Kosovo will engage with the European Union, and those will be the case, the chances.
Can you just tell me how come the ombudsman got into that? That's one of those issues that has to do with human rights. It's just, how did it become a condition?
I don't even remember how it, but it's, you know, the functioning of this institution is important for the EU. And so at one point it was there in the visa liberalization.
Great. Is functioning of public TV important for the EU?
Yes, it is.
So?
I think we've been vocal about, we've been supporting public TV. We've been vocal about the need to find sustainable funding for public TV that will make it less dependent on politics.
But say in the same issue over the building of the public TV, where it's their ownership of the building is not secure, it's never been a condition on visa liberalization. How come? It's one of those independent institutions that EU cares about.
Well, yeah, it didn't come. We might leave it for another process, but it's true. Yes, it is important.
But funding of public TV was never a condition. It was never resolved, even with the license fee or through other funding. You let it pass through.
No, but I just remembered how the ombudsperson got into the visa liberalization. When we are discussing feasibility study for SAA. That was before SAA. We discussed feasibility study. We gave 4 benchmarks to Kosovo to achieve. One of the benchmarks, sub-benchmark, was also functioning of the ombudsperson with the budget and with the premises. And it was promised, we got a letter from Kosovo that this will be done. And so we did a check. Feasibility study was done. We went into SAA. Later on, we found out how this was not implemented, and that's how it came into the visa liberalization process. That doesn't mean that other issues like public TV, which is really important for the European Union, might not be one of our requests in the future. For sure, it's going to be mentioned in our progress report.
Are there other things which you would say that need support in Kosovo, which you see independent things happening, and mind you saying, Majlinda was really not supported till she became a huge champion. She really did everything on her own, with her own team, depending on a really incredible trainer. What are things that we shouldn't wait upon, like incredible personalities like that, but you know, normal good things that should be supported in Kosovo, according to you, that are not?
Well, arts and artists is the group that I think should be supportive as well. Well, sportists, not just Majlinda, but sportists in general, but artists as well. Look, when Kosovo decided for the first time to go to Venice Biennale with Petrit Halilai, that was a huge success. First, it was really very good decision to go to Venice Biennale because millions of people visit there. And then it was a great choice to send Petrit Halilai, a young artist, and who made quite a lot of news there. You got so many articles that you couldn't ever pay. Flaka Khaliti, again a success. Okay. This is important because, you know, the artists can show this great energy that exists in Kosovo. You ask what is good for Kosovo, what I love in Kosovo. It is you have great youth, so much youth, that generates a certain energy that people feel when they come to Kosovo. It's very unique to Kosovo, I think, and this is because of the youth. So this probably shows through artists, and that's why they're all successful when they come to Venice, and I hope the next year you will send again somebody like that.
You speak very warmly about Kosovo. What do you think will wait for you in Macedonia? Can you give me like your just feeling about going to this new job in Macedonia, which is not so far away? And by the way, we seem to be very interconnected.
Just before that, I wanted just to add that I would wish that that great energy of young people would also, young and new people would enter the politics. This is something when you said what you wish for Kosovo in the future, I would want more, I would hope for more of this young energy and new energy to come into politics, which is very polarized at the moment. On my new posting, I think there is a hope with the new agreement of political leaders and the elections, upcoming elections, that the mood in the country will change.
Are you going to be involved?
That could open up also relationship with the European Union.
Are you going to be as involved as a previous USR in these negotiations? And
it depends whatever will be requested. I think that that period when the EU and also US ambassador were so closely involved in bringing the leaders even in the residencies, probably that period has ended now with the agreement of the leaders and to go into elections. I really hope that these elections will start a new page, hopefully also with relations with the European Union.
I wish you good luck in the new job in Macedonia. It's a very tough place, as it seems, and I hope you do as well as you did here in terms of how much you listen to people. Thanks very much, Mr. Zhbogar. Thank you for being on Jeta në Kosovë 3 years after you were here first time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.